Welcome back to Ray's Coffee and Cards at StampingUp.net. It is about 3 o'clock in the afternoon here, August the 14th, and I thought today I would show a technique that you may have never heard of, may have never seen. Of course, it depends on how adventurous you are on YouTube. This is not original to me by any means. This technique has been around for quite a while. It is referred to as Joseph's coat, and so it makes a stunning card. I don't even have a card that I have already done with this. It's probably been over a year since I did a Joseph's coat card. So let's go ahead and get busy because this will take just a little bit. So for today, I'm using a combination of 3 different stamp sets. This is Gorgeous Leaves. It is in the new mini catalog. Beautiful wood grain splatter, leaves with a little bit of splatter coming around the edges. It's just such a beautiful stamp set. So we're going to be using the leaves, and I was going to use a splatter. I didn't have room to fit this one in. The other stamp set that I used is in the annual catalog, Forever Fern. Beautiful stamp set. If you do not have this, this thing is so versatile, and you can use this all year long. Not to mention, it's got some really nice sentiments that come with it. The splatter stamp that is in here is smaller, and that's the one I'm going to use today, along with all of the foliage stamps. And then for the greeting on the card, we're going to use the hello. The only other set that I use, well, no, I take that back. So when I cut out my sentiment that is going to go on the front of the card, the hello, I use the seasonal label dies, and these are the dies that coordinate with Christmas season that is in the new mini holiday catalog. And so the die that I use to cut out the sentiment with is this one right here. I love this set. Even if it didn't cut everything else out, I really like these unique sentiment cutouts. So we're using that, and I've got to give a big shout out to Brenda. This is the host set that is in the new mini catalog that just launched on the 3rd of August. You can only get this with a $300 order. While as demonstrators, we were supposed to be able to pre-order it, but for some reason it would not let me when I did my pre-order. Brenda got a hold of a copy for me and gave this to me. Isn't she awesome? Brenda is not on YouTube. She is not on Facebook. But many of you that are watching this know exactly who I am talking about. And so this is so special to me because a good friend and just a wonderful person and Christian in her own right gave this to me. And I'm loving these sentiments that are in here. There's only one I don't really care for, but for the inside of the card, I thought we would use Hope Your Day is Fantabulistic. Fabulous and fantastic all in one. That way there, it's not just a birthday card. This could almost be for any great occasion in someone's life. So those are the sets we're going to be using today. Now, in order to do the Joseph's Technique card, it's messy. Okay, I'll just give you a heads up. It's messy. You may see where I haven't exactly been able to get rid of all the traces of ink because I did come in here and play with it for a little while today. But I wasn't able, or I didn't take the time to make a sample card to show you. I will kind of give you a sneak peek because mine kind of messed up. And so here's a hint. Just a hint. Okay, let's get started. So what I've done is I have taken the largest block that you can get from Stampin' Up, Well, let me turn it this way. Maybe you can see the F that is right there. This is the biggest block they make. It's great for the background stamps. If you don't have a Stamparatus, this is the one you would use. However, instead of mounting all of the different stamps on individual blocks, one shot, one pop, and it's on there. These may look a little bit shiny because I didn't bother to clean off the Versamark ink that I used on them earlier, because we're going to be putting Versamark back on there. So this is how I've elected to do mine. You can do yours any way you want to. And so I've got a color palette going here. I got sponge daubers sitting on top. Let me move those. So we're going to be using Fresh Freesia, Granny Apple Green, Daffodil Delight, and Pumpkin Pie. Now you can change your colors up if you decide you would like to try to do one of these cards. You can make it fall theme, Christmas theme. You can use any stamp set you wish. I'm just showing you this as an example as to what you can do with this technique. Okay, so we're going to start out. Pick a color, any color, it doesn't really matter. I've got the sponge daubers. You get 5 to a set. I never felt the need to buy a sponge dauber for each and every color. I try to kind of keep, like this is for my pinks and my purples. This is for my greens. I have another one for my yellows. And I have another one that kind of got used when it shouldn't have been. But I'm going to use this today for the pumpkin pie. But yes, it is clean. There's no trace of the other ink on there at all. They do get stained. You can rinse these with cool water. Let them dry. They're good to go again. In fact, I've probably been using this set of sponge daubers for close to 4 years now. I'm starting to see a little bit of wear on them. Like you can kind of tell that one is starting to show signs of wear. So it's about time for me to get some new ones. But they're inexpensive. And to last for 4 years, that's awesome. Now, having said that, you know, Stampin' Up! Used to carry these sponges. And they're a big round sponge. And so most of us will take and just cut them up into wedges and use those. And if you want to put like a clothespin or a book clip of some kind on there, you can actually use this with your ink pads, and they do just as good a job as the ink daubers. But because I'm not dealing with a really big area, I'm using the ink daubers today. But they did discontinue those sponges. However, you may have something that you can use around your house that would do the same thing. The ink blending brushes would also work if you have those from Stampin' Up, but I'm not going to use any of that today. So the layer I'm going to work on, the actual finished size that I am going to need is 4 by 5 1/4. I have cut this at 4 1/2 by 5 1/2, and I did it for a reason, and you'll understand why as we get going on this. So I am starting with my Fresh Freesia. I'm just going to kind of get a good amount of ink on there. And I don't want it real heavy. So I'm going to take a little bit of that off. And this is just a random thing. No two cards are ever going to look the same. And so you just start applying what I call blobs of color. And you can do it in lines. You can do it in areas like I'm doing here. It doesn't matter. Just understand if you're dealing with 4 or 5 colors that you do need to leave room for all of your color palette. I think I'm only going to put this on here one more time. Let's have some in the corner over here. There we go. There we go. All right, let me close this one up. And I'm going to put my dauber on top of it so I know that's the one I used with that color. I'm going to get out the Granny Apple Green, and we're going to do the same thing. It's okay if your colors overlap a little bit. That is just fine. Doesn't hurt a thing. And you can tell, yes, I have some light and dark areas. It is not going to matter. You're not going to be able to tell when we get everything said and done. I'm just simply putting some color down in random places, and it's all good. Let's see. Let's put a little bit there. Maybe a little bit over here. Okay. That's it for the Granny Apple Green. I hope this comes out. I was so excited when I very first saw this technique, and I thought, I gotta try this. And it was beautiful. It came out awesome. And I gave it away. I didn't even take a picture of it, I don't think. If I did, I don't even know where it would be. Okay, let's come in with some yellow. Daffodil Delight. Let's call it by what it is, so that if you're not familiar with the color names, maybe I can help you get a little bit familiar with the color names. Yellow and green blending together actually makes a really soft green or an even more intense yellow. Okay, let's go one more. And a little bit over here. Just a little bit. And if you feel like you need to backtrack and add in more of a color you've already used, absolutely. There are really no rules to this at all. Okay, pumpkin pie. I don't use this color very much unless it is, and I really don't want that dark. I want it to highlight, but not be too dark. Yeah, it's your card. You want to use 5 colors, 6 colors, whatever you want to use, go for it. There's no rhyme or reason. That's why I said no 2 cards will be the same. They're all gonna be different. And it's okay to overlap those colors. It's okay if a little bit of orange gets into the fresh freesia. Not a problem. Okay, let me take just a second to kind of look at this. Yeah, it's a hot mess. Absolutely. All right, I'm going to set that over there with that. No, I think I'm just going to leave it just like that. I'm not going to add any more or do anything different. All right, so here's my base. Now, we want to take our Versamark, which is a watermark stamp pad that we carry it stamping up. This thing will last you forever. Again, I bought this when I first got started in card making, or not very long after, and it's still going. Yeah, I've gotten it a little dirty, but it doesn't transfer the dirt. It's stained, but it won't transfer. And so let's get everything inked up really well. Oh, and by the way, yes, you can get a refill for this thing too, just like you can with all the inks. And again, my bottle is about half gone, but for having it for 4 years, not bad. Not bad at all. Very worthwhile investment. If you ever want to get into heat embossing, you need that Versamark. Not only that, even if you don't get into heat embossing, sometimes using Versamark can make really beautiful subtle backgrounds. Okay, I think we've got that inked up well enough. And I'm going to flip it over. And I didn't care that I had the stems coming off. I'm not about us doing a bunch of stems on this anyway. I'll lay that down. Just kind of press here and there. Versamark ink is very thick. It's kind of sticky, but not sticky like glue. I don't know how to describe it if you've never used it. And it cleans up really easy. Okay. Take hold of this. Let's peel this off. And you're not really going to be able to see much. I don't know if it's showing a little bit there. All right, I'm going to put this over to the side. And now here comes the Stampin' Up! Clear Embossing Powder. I bought some cute little containers with little mini spoons, and I've ended up going back to my lunch meat containers. Hey, after the lunch meat's gone, these are free. They're big. I really like them. And I found this plastic spoon that would have been my youngest child's spoon when he was little. So, Sydney, if you want this, you know where it's at. Ha ha ha. Okay. Now, the reason why I cut this bigger than what I know I'm going to need, I have to get my fingertips in here to some degree. If I mess something up, because I'm going to be trimming off the edges, I'm okay. Now, embossing powder goes everywhere. It is messy to work with, which is why I like an oversized container like this, where I know it will fall right back in. A thing of embossing powder will last you a long time. It goes a long way. And I haven't had to buy any in a while. I think they were $5 when I first bought mine. Again, 4 years ago, so they may be higher than that now. I'm not sure, and I didn't even think to check the catalog. Doesn't look like I got good coverage right there. The Versamark, it looks like part of that leaf might be missing. So I just gently blew off the excess. All right. Versamark ink, because it is so thick and a little sticky, it takes it a while to dry. So if you decide to get into this, no hurry, no pressure. Of course, you can't say that about the regular inks. Now, you can take and stamp something in the regular ink, and if you immediately hit it with the clear and emboss it, it's almost the same as having pumpkin pie embossing powder already colored. And we'll get into that in another video. Okay, this is my heat tool. This is Stampin' Up! Heat tool. Again, I've had this thing for a long time. It's had an awful lot of use. It's still going strong. You have two heat settings. You have a 1, which is good if you're embossing maybe on vellum. That actually kind of gets hot enough for the vellum. But the 1 setting is good if you've done something and it's going to take a while to dry. You can actually accelerate the drying process on the number 1 heat setting. When you go to 2, that is your normal heat embossing level, and it takes just a little bit for it to get up to temperature. So I'm going to hold it far away from me while I turn it on. Yes, they're noisy, especially in a video. When you're in your craft room working, that's not really going to bother you. Then I want this to kind of get up to the speed. Now, we use clear embossing powder, so this isn't going to jump off the page like a white or a black or anything else would. Let that run for just a few seconds. But this is also why you want to make sure that embossing powder is closed up. Ask me how I know. Alright, let's see if we've got it hot enough. Trying to hold this so that as it starts to heat it and solidify, can you see it? I'll try to do this where you can see what's happening, but I don't know how well the camera is picking this up. And anytime you heat emboss, you want to make sure you get it off, but you want to keep your gun moving. It is possible to burn the powder. It very much is. I've never done it, but I've been told that's possible so many times by so many different people, I don't question it anymore. But I am kind of wondering, since I didn't get the Versamark right there in the middle of that leaf, how that may affect the overall look of this card when all is said and done. And yes, it gets really hot. Let me get my tweezers here. You can use tweezers, a clothespin, whatever it takes so that your hand is not right on top of this. Almost there. We're almost done. Almost. Alright. Now, you will know when you don't have that powdery look and everything looks really good and shiny. So always inspect what you've done to make sure you got everything. And I'm not sure about that right there. It's kind of shiny, not real shiny. I'm going to hit that one more time. And by the way, I didn't even tell you guys, but I am using extra thick Whisper White. But that's just for this layer, and I did it because, yes, when you're heating your cardstock, you can see how this one is kind of not totally flat anymore. But that's okay. It will all work out. It's not a problem. Okay. Alright, we are good. I usually just take it and just kind of back and forth a little bit, just enough to cool it off. Okay, we're good. Alright. Now for the part that is going to reveal the actual masterpiece. And some of you may be going, oh no. See, I still got embossing powder on here. Despite the big container. That stuff is so fine, it goes everywhere. Alright, you're going to take your memento. We love our memento. Gently take that lid off. And here, just like being in kindergarten, here's where the fun begins. You're going to take your memento pad and you're just going to cover over the entire card. The whole thing. The whole thing. Oh, I really hate that leaf didn't get all the way there. I hate that. Whole thing. And what you're looking for is the background. The background should now be totally black. But because I'll have to, I'll end up, I will end up re-inking my memento pad, I'm sure, but this is such a fun technique. Okay, so you see what we have, and I'm wondering if I waited long enough. That looks like that kind of might have smeared a little bit, maybe. Okay, so take an old towel, soft towel. I've had this thing for years. I wash it, it's stained. It's very beloved in my craft room, but it's clean. And so now what we're going to do, and I want you to pay attention to how we're going to just go over those embossed areas and pick up that black ink that is sitting on top. It's called an emboss resist technique because that black ink is just sitting on top of that non-porous. And you want to be careful. You're just barely revealing. You're making those colors pop even more by taking what little bit of black is sitting on there off. Making it pop. Okay, so there we go. I didn't quite get enough black ink in some of it, but that's okay. That's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect. All right. Now I'm gonna take and we're gonna trim this down. Let me bring my trimmer over here. I have already done a card base with Granny Apple Green, typical card base, 5.5 by 11, scored at 4 1/4, and I have put regular basic white layer on top. I tend to favor the little skinny borders, and if you do too, I cut this, the white layer at 4 1/4 by 5 3/8, and that leaves you just that little skinny border. There's nothing wrong with doing the traditional 4" by 5 1/4. That's just fine. But I want to cut this down to 4 by 5 1/4. I want a little bit of that white peeking out behind this to kind of help brighten it up. So, 4. And I'm looking, so there's my 4. Actually, I think I'm gonna take it off on this side. Let's just take that off. Yeah, I ruined my other card, the one that I would have had for a sample, and it was like, oh well. Okay, and then 5 1/4. There we go, 5 1/4. Which end do I want to cut off? I guess it really matters. Okay, here we go. Now at this point, depending on what stamp set you used, you can decide whether or not to make it a landscape or a portrait. And I think I may make mine a portrait. I think so. Okay. Now, before I glue this down, let's go ahead and put the inside piece in. And I've gone ahead and stamped it with Hope Your Day is Fantabulistic, which is so cute. I don't know who came up with that, but that's really cute. We're going to glue this in. I have one other thing I want to do before we glue down the top and add our sentiment. One other thing. Bear with me. Of course, one of the things I didn't do, and it probably would have helped a whole lot, is I didn't use my anti-static powder before I did the heat embossing. This little stamp right here, that is also in the Love of Leaves. No, not Love of Leaves. Gorgeous Leaves. It's that one right there. Really cute. They're all 3 on one stamp. And it looks like, whoops, it looks like this. Isn't that cute? Really cute. Let's not lose any dies doing this. Okay, so I've got that in there. And sometimes it's kind of fun to stamp your sentiment right in the middle. And you can actually write whatever you want around it. And I could have added maybe more decoration in here, but decided not to. All right, before we put this down, I want to take some of this in color ribbon. This is Fresh Freesia. And I want to wrap it around it. So let's cut that about right there. It doesn't take a whole lot. You just want to be able to wrap it and tuck it up underneath. And one of my favorite ways to do that is with a glue dot. And I forgot to order more glue dots. So with our upcoming card class in August, I still should have enough. Now this ribbon is really sheer. I love this ribbon. It's really sheer, and so that sticky will kind of tend to come through. Okay, we're gonna figure out about where we want this going. About there. About there. Okay. Put a glue dot on this end. I hope I've been managing to stay in camera. I'm trying to do a lot better about that. Trying. Doesn't mean I am. That kind of straight, kind of straight. We want it firm, not too tight. There we go. So there's that. And then we're gonna get our sentiment. And I think I want to pop that up on dimensionals, or do I? Let me look. And see, I didn't have this totally planned out. Sometimes it's kind of nice to do it on the fly. But you know, I don't think I am going to. I don't think I am. I think I'm just gonna pop this down with some glue. Oh yeah, cardstock has two sides, right? So when it didn't go the way I wanted it to on one side, I just flipped it over and did it again. And this will also, the glue on here will also help to hold that ribbon down. And so, let's see if I have that straight. I always have to pick things up and look at it. I don't know if anybody else is that way or not, but I am. Now, you do have a little bit of give and bounce right here. If that bothers you, take your pick tool, get you another glue dot. Well, come on. Get another glue dot. Pick it up. Take and put it right on the back side. And then when you get ready to that down. Now our glue dots are really tough, and I think I've told you all that before. They are very tough. The other day I went to take something apart that I had anchored with a glue dot, and it tore the cardstock trying to get it off. And it's like, okay, we won't do that again. Okay, now put these back up, and let's get this attached to our card base. I will tell you, if you do this technique, and if it bothers you because the cardstock now is a little bit like not totally flat, if you have a laminator, you can take a piece of parchment paper, fold it in half, slide this into it, and fold first, feed it through the laminator. The heat from the laminator will straighten it back out. But I don't think it is that bad. I really don't. I got glue boogers on my bottle again. I try to keep it clean. It just doesn't seem to matter. Pull this down where I can kind of sort of see what I'm doing, maybe. Cardstock being a little wavy is not helping me. Whoops. Overcorrect. Overcorrect. Okay. I'm just going to let that stay as is. It's far from perfect. Okay, so what do you guys think? Mine was not perfect. It had some issues. But honestly, I would not be afraid to send this to anyone, because actually imperfection sometimes can have its own charm and have its own appeal. So if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. If you're not sure how to do that, when you've minimized my video, you'll see a thumbs up down below. This really will help me on YouTube and help other people find me that don't know about me yet. And if you want to be notified whenever I have another video going up, you can hit the subscribe button, and there's a bell that will actually ding you if I ever get to where I can go live. And we'll see about that. That's something I'm kind of working on. I've actually been working on a whole lot of things behind the scene. It's slow going. It's frustrating to learn some of this stuff, but yeah. So for the month of August, host code. If I can get this off of here. Did I stick it to my paper? I did. So August 2021, the hostess code UCR A4TCC. Unless you are placing an order over $150, please use this host code. What that is going to do is it's going to allow me some leverage. I try to give out small gifts whenever anyone orders $50 or more. I've tried to be faithful to do that. Well, that costs me money, y'all. And with the card class that is coming up, in fact, the letters just went out today. So the card class that is coming up, August the 28th, I am actually having 3 prize drawings, and that is outlined in the letter. We're going to have one for an embellishment, we're going to have one for a DSP, and we're going to have one for a stamp set. So, that's not free to me, guys. I have to buy those in order to be able to show generosity and Christian love to the people who come to my classes. So bear that in mind. If you go to raiscoffeeandcards.stampinup.net, please use that host code. It really helps me out, and then I can pay it forward to you guys. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. I always come back and I look to see if I have comments, and I will answer any questions that you may have. All right, y'all have the rest of the weekend. Be blessed, and I will talk to you later. Bye.